Hello, today we're going to be talking about the introduction for your urban legend essay. Now, we've already written an introduction for our literacy narrative, obviously, but the literacy narrative was a different animal. Okay, when we were writing the narrative, we were not doing the traditional essay structure that we're going to be using for the rest of the semester. With urban legend essay, though, we're doing a basic informative essay. You're informing your reader about some important things, bringing in research. So the essay structure is going to follow that more standard model that we talked about a few weeks ago. Now, with a good introduction, remember, we have three basic parts: attention getter, background, and thesis that we need to make sure is in there. But today we're going to walk through what each of these parts should look like, and then I'm actually going to give you a sample to really help you wrap your mind around it as you try to write your own. Now, first of all, remember the attention getter, AG, needs to be relevant and interesting. Okay. Now, you chose your topic. I didn't pick what you have to write about. You chose which urban legend you wanted to analyze, so hopefully you found it interesting for some reason. Well, share that with us. Think about what about the topic spoke to you, because that would be something that can get the reader's attention as well. And if you look in the Quick Access Compact and the pages I had you read about the introduction, they give you some ideas of possibilities, interesting facts, short anecdotes, things like that that could work for an attention getter. Like I said, I'll show you a sample of that in a moment. Next is background information. Okay, this is where you give your reader enough information to understand the thesis. Okay? Because if you give your reader the thesis, if it was something about something they're unfamiliar with, something they don't know that much about, then the thesis doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. So that's why we want to give just enough background to understand the thesis. And for this essay, part of that is giving enough background to make sure the reader understands the topic itself, so the urban legend. You will want to introduce the urban legend briefly. You don't have to tell us everything about it, but you do want to be giving your reader enough information that they at least will understand where you're coming from as you start your analysis in the essay. Okay? So for instance, if I was writing my essay about an urban legend related to the Zika virus, you better believe I'm going to define what is the Zika virus in my introduction, just to give my reader enough background. Now, another part of that background, and this was in Chapter 7 of They Say, I Say, is the idea of who cares and so what. Okay? Now, who cares, as you'll recall, is who has a stake in it. Okay? Who directly is impacted by this topic. That's important to know why the topic is purposeful and meaningful to certain people. But the second one, so what? That's why does the reader care? Because your reader very well may not be part of the group that is directly impacted by your topic, but there should still be some significance, some importance to it that you can share with your reader. And once again, I'll give you a sample of that in just a moment. Okay? And then finally, the thesis. Okay, the thesis is going to do two things. Okay, first of all, it needs to name the legend. Okay, and then it needs to make a main point about what it tells about the culture. And there were samples of this in the sample essay provided. I'm going to give you another one in a moment. But just keep in mind that your thesis is going to give your reader the main idea of what your essay is about. And you're analyzing the legend. Okay, you are not analyzing the topic itself. So if your urban legend is about food safety, do not write a persuasive paper about why we need better food regulation. If your essay is about oil prices, don't write an essay about how we need to drill more offshore. That's not what the purpose of this essay is. We will do things like that later in the semester. But this essay should be analyzing the legend at all times. Okay, so let's look at some samples, shall we? First, the attention getter. Okay, you've put in an 8-hour day for the last 15 years. You've woken up before dawn to get your swimming hours in before school started. Your decade and a half of hard work finally paid off as you made the Olympic team. Too bad you now have to decide between following that dream or staying home to avoid the Zika virus. Attention getter, it's relevant to my topic because, as you can guess, I'm going to be talking about an urban legend related to the Zika virus. But also a scenario like this kind of puts the reader into the position, and something that is interesting of having this dream and then it being dashed at the last minute. Plus, it's related to reality, as I'll get into in the background. Brazil, set to host the Olympics this year, is currently facing an outbreak of the Zika virus, a mosquito-borne disease that can cause major birth defects and death. Some Olympians are deciding to forego the festivities in light of the fear. However, while Zika is something to be concerned about, its actual danger has been exaggerated. In fact, because of the hoopla surrounding the epidemic, an urban legend has even sprung up saying that Zika was purposely engineered by the U.S. government to create fear around the Olympics. While this is in no way verifiable and almost certainly untrue, the spread of the legend about Zika says much about those who believe it. Okay? So we explain what Zika is, I've connected my attention getter to my background. I'm not just putting in an attention getter that has no connection. I'm transitioning in to the rest of the paragraph. And I've also introduced the idea of the urban legend. I've given my reader the urban legend that I'm analyzing. Okay, but I didn't just say my legend, right? No, I'm introducing that it is an urban legend because my reader does not know about it before they read my essay. Okay? Now, who cares? So what? Spread of this deadly disease is something that should be taken seriously because of the impact it has had. Okay, and it has had impact on people. But remember, who cares is about who it directly impacts. The reader may not be in that group. So we have to follow that up with, so many diseases have reached epidemic proportions in the past that we should all be concerned, but we must do so in a rational way and with all the facts. An urban legend like this shows the irrational attitudes around disease. So here I've made it clear why my topic is important, why my reader should care enough to keep reading, and that's essential. Okay? Very few of us actually read essays for fun, right? But you want to make your topic seem like it's actually intriguing. Right? I read your essays because I have to. But a good essay, and this happens with several students, I actually enjoy the essay and I want to keep reading. I'm intrigued early on. That's what you want to do for your reader. It's much more effective. Okay? And finally, my thesis. The legend about the Zika virus being engineered by the US government. So there I've named my legend. And if you have an official name for it, you can use that as well. Shows an irrational fear of disease as well as a strong distrust of government. Okay? That word shows, you want to have a word like that, either shows or indicates, because the whole point of this essay, remember, is to analyze what the legend tells you about the society that believes it. So to me, this legend tells me that people have an irrational fear of disease, right? So they blow things out of proportion. But they also have a strong distrust of government if they're willing to believe that the government engineered this. So that's what we're looking for in our introduction. I would just have this be one paragraph, of course. I wouldn't have these little markers, but you blend that all together, you're going to have a solid introduction paragraph. So make sure you do that for your own. You will start your essay off pretty strongly.